Welcome to the Avail Podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. My name is Virgil Sierra, and today we're sitting down with Lori Champion. Lori and her husband Joe are the pastors of Celebration Church in Austin, Texas. Today we'll discuss Lori's new book, Woman Up. We've all heard the phrase man up, but what does it mean to woman up? Let's get right into this important discussion with Lori Champion on women in leadership, their God-given identity, and so much more. Let's get started. The woman of the hour is here with us, Pastor Lori. We're so excited to have you here on the live call. How you doing?
I am doing great. I'm so excited to be here. I've been so pumped. I've been counting the days to be with you, Pastor Virgil, and the Avail team. Avail is just resourcing me as a leader, and so I'm happy to contribute what I have to say because it's just a great organization, and the journal and all the podcasts and webinars. It's awesome what y'all are doing.
Thank you so much, Lori. We're really excited today to really, I want to delve into your new book. And what I do know is that there's always new people connecting, right? So there's people that might be saying, oh, who's Lori Champion? A lot of people know who you are. So what I want to do is, before we jump into the book, which will be in a minute or two, I know that, I just mentioned that you and your husband, Joe, you guys pastor Celebration Church in Austin, Texas. How did you guys end up in Austin?
Well, I think God needed some more churches in Austin, Texas, because Austin needs Jesus. And we were just two people. We had been married for about 10 years. We had it on our heart to build a church someday, to plant a church someday. And we didn't want to pick the city. We just believed that God had a city for us. And we would just say yes to whatever God wanted. And he said to us, it is Austin. Actually, Joe, who was on with you recently, because he just put out a book with Avail called Confronting Compromise. But he was about to preach at the church that we were serving at, and he heard the voice of God say, it is Austin. And I was at home with our newborn third child and just doing my devotionals. It's before they had live streaming services or whatever, and I was having my own service, and I felt like the Lord said, it is Austin. And so he calls me on the way home and he says, Lori, I can't believe it. But he said it wasn't an audible voice, but he said it was just like a voice out of nowhere in my mind as I was going up to preach, and it said, it is Austin. And I went, the same thing happened to me. And so a few months later, we packed up everything that we had, all of our earthly goods and all of our savings accounts, sold our house, packed up our three little boys. They were 8, 4, and newborn, and moved to this great city, not knowing anyone, not having a launch team, or all the things that we help church planters do nowadays. And we just started a church 45 days after we got here. And we started with 54 people in a library. I can tell you, I could write a book on things not to do as a church planter. But now we have multiple locations in the Austin area and in Mozambique, Africa, in Naples, Italy. And God has just really blown our minds with his goodness and his faithfulness. And if you listen to God and if you work hard, and then he will have a above and beyond life for you.
That's so good. I love it. And I could say, Pastor Lori, just even from a distance, my wife and I, as pastors, really, really have been blessed by your ministry and by Celebration Church. And it's so exciting to see that. So I'm so happy to be able to hear from you. And we're going to talk about your book, Woman Up, in a second. I have one more question before that. Celebration Church now has been established for all these years. I'm sure that throughout those years, you've probably worn different hats. What would you say your role is now? As you've done so many things, but what would you say your role is now?
I have had to slide and glide. I mean, that's one of the great leadership principles, or blessed are the flexible, they will remain standing. And I've definitely had to flex. I'm like a contortionist. But, it's been like from women's ministry to worship pastor to executive team, but I'm co-pastor of the church, and I like to say it like this: Joe is the lead visionary, and I'm the lead implementer of the vision. So I
Mhm.
put strategy to whatever we're doing. We have a staff of about 125 in our Texas campus, and so I help lead the staff and in leadership and process and all the things that he doesn't like to do, I do. And so we are a great balance to each other in that way. And so God's just gifted us so differently, uniquely wired us, and our experiences are different. And so we both bring that to the table. And I believe that one puts 1,000 to flight, two puts 10,000 to flight, and so together it's just been an
Mm.
exponential impact, and we've been able to see God do amazing things through us.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. All right. So the Lord kind of inspires this book, right? Can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about your leadership journey and what inspired you to write Woman Up?
Well, my leadership journey is, I was born bossy. I was just born wanting to tell people what to do. I have only brothers, younger brothers, and I got to practice my leadership gift on them. And I'm fifth generation PK pastor. I'm fifth generation pastor on both sides of my family, and
Wow.
so. But when I was a little girl, I always pretended like I was a businesswoman. I put a nameplate on my door. I was always like filling out paperwork, working at a desk, and so everything I did, I wanted to sell. Like if I drew a picture, I would try to
Wow.
sell it. I just was an entrepreneurial child, and so I did not see my leadership gift being outworked in the church. I saw like the typical pastor's wife, like my mom was, played the
Mhm.
organ, sang, did the women's ministry. And, or, I saw different giftings, but I didn't see my gifting. So I thought, I love the church. I love my family. I'm going to serve the church, but I think I probably need to lead somewhere else. And God radically changed that around. I was a pre law student. I was working for the governor of
Mm.
Louisiana when I was in college. And I thought, I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to be in law. I'm going to be in politics. I might be a judge. And just through a series of events, I was awakened to the call of God in my life that I couldn't escape it. And so here I am in ministry I think started full time ministry 30 years ago. And at that time, they just didn't have women with my gift set, but I did whatever I was asked to do, whether that was answering the phones or leading youth or, whatever. And over the years, it's like God took every single desire of my heart. He took every experience that I had. He took all of my education and he has used it for his purpose. But there was this season of my life, and I talk about it in the very beginning of the book. I wrote a letter to my 27-year-old self. And Joe and I moved. It was kind of like he moved. Joe and I moved to the swamps of Louisiana. And it was a church that really didn't respect my gifts at the time. And so
Mm.
we have one car, he has it. I'm at home with a toddler. And I just thought, okay, God, I'm done. I guess this is like early retirement. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't working, I wasn't contributing. Um, I just was stepping on Legos, and changing diapers. And at that time in my life, I thought it was done. And I really thought that God maybe made a mistake in giving me the gifts that he gave me.
Mm.
And I wanted to tell that young woman, or young at heart woman, 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, like God's not done just because you have a season that doesn't look like what you planned. And in that time, I actually grew as a leader in different ways that I could take those lessons to the next season. And so when God eventually called us to plant Celebration Church, yeah, I was youth pastor, I was, all these other roles, but I look back at that time when I thought, God, you must be done with me. And I want other women to see, like, whatever their station is, whether they're in the marketplace or whether they're a stay-at-home mom or whether they're leading their community or in their church or whatever, like God didn't make a mistake giving you the gifts that he gave you, and I want to help equip you to be able to live the life that God's called you to live. And I think that as a woman, I can get by with saying things to women that men can't say. And I also think that women lead uniquely. And so that was my heart behind the book. And I hope it blesses people. I know that I had a little group of girls that read the front of it, you know, and they were like, "That's me. That's so where I am right now." And so over the course of your life as a woman, you wear all different hats.
Mm.
And I think we do more than men do because sometimes you want to be a stay-at-home mom, or there's, you know, times that you're taking care of a parent or you're doing whatever. But in every single season, God's going to use it in the future, and you can learn to be a better leader because of it.
Yeah, that's great. That was, you kind of were talking about it right now, but one of the questions is this book only for women, right? Or is it something that men should lean into as well?
It's for every kind of woman. For sure. I mean, it's surprising that some of my marketplace friends that aren't even really amazing Christians, but they're loving some of the leadership principles that are in the book. And I've just been really excited as they've handed the book out to people that they work with, and that kind of thing. It's gotten a great response already. And also, I mean, men love it. It's been wild. My the best test case is my own sons. They're now 29, 25, and 22, and they're
Mm,
brutally honest. And they were like, "Mom, I've learned things." So there's leadership principles that are universal, but
yeah.
it's also like a lot of men are married to women like I am, or women like your wife,
Hmm.
and they're strong women, and you want to be able to understand them, and you want to be able to steward
Yeah.
the people around you that God's gifted. And so that's been really exciting too. I have a women's conference and it's called Radiant, and my husband and my sons all come to it. And Joe said, "Lori, it's not even a women's conference, it's like a leadership conference." He's like, so we have hundreds of men that serve at our women's conference, and I think it's because they enjoy the leadership. I can't get away from it. I love teaching leadership. I love being a leader, and I think that at the very least, we need to lead ourselves. And Jesus told us to go into all the world and lead other people to Christ. So he's put the mantle of leadership on all of us. So we can't escape it. We may as well embrace it and learn to be the best at it.
I love that. Hey, let's do something. I want to tease everybody. We're on a live call. Can you hold
Yeah,
up the book, Pastor Lori? So the
sure.
book is Woman. I don't have one with me. The book is
Yeah.
Woman Up, for
It's a
women discovering
hardback.
their leadership voice and for the men who value them.
Yeah. Yep. Here it is. I love it.
Hey, everybody, we're on an Avail live call. I'm going to be letting you know in a few moments, a little bit ahead, how you can, if you're not an Avail subscriber yet, you can get this book for free today. And if you are
Wow.
an Avail subscriber, you can get it on the website. I'll give you more information and our team in a little bit. But before that, here's what I want to ask you a few more questions, Pastor Lori, leading into this book. What are some of the main biblical female protagonists that you kind of bring up and discuss in the book, and what do they teach us about women leaders?
Yeah, I talk about a few, but the main one that the book is based on is a woman called Deborah, and she was a God appointed leader, prophet, and judge in the Old Testament, especially in Judges chapter 4, beginning in Judges chapter 4. And I don't know if I just skipped over that part of the Bible for a long time in my life, but when I found Deborah about 12 years ago and really started researching her life, and of course, I wanted to be a judge, um, I was like, this woman is a boss. I
Hmm.
mean, she is an anti-gravity, I call it an anti-gravity leader because she was leading at the time of a time in the world, a time in Israel when everything was dark and divisive and divided, and people were in rebellion to God, and they had been in and out of captivity for 400 years as a people, and
Mm,
they were in captivity. And so she had to go against the grain as a woman, and God trusted her with this promise, and he trusted her with this prophetic insight to
mm,
lead Israel out of captivity. And it's just her whole life is just a clinic on leadership,
mm,
on leading alongside men. It is. incredible. One of my favorite things that it says about her, it says, the sons of Israel lined up to hear her wisdom.
Wow.
And I just think, I have sons and they're not exactly lining up for my wisdom all the time. I mean, sometimes they don't even answer the phone when I call. But but what kind of woman do men line up to hear from?
Wow.
And she had to put security in them. She
Mm,
had to be a woman that was trusted. She had to be a woman that was wise. She had to be a no drama mama,
mm.
because they don't want women that are dramatic. They don't want women that are bossy or showing, lording over them. And so I love that she was an empowerer. She wasn't a male basher. She had something to say. She could lead in a difficult time because, I mean, everybody knows anybody can lead in a non difficult time,
Mhm.
but it takes a real leader to lead in those difficult times. And so she calls forth this man named Barak, who is the general of Israel's army. And she says, Barak, I have a word from the Lord for you. You're going to go to the battle and you're going to win the victory, and we're going to be out of the captivity of Canaan. And this is how. And she tells him exactly like how many troops he needs and where he's going
Mhm.
to go. And she gives all the strategies that God himself has given to her, because obviously she hadn't had that experience. And he's like, okay, that's all good, but I'm not actually going unless you go with me. And she's like, I'll go with you. She didn't hesitate. She said, I'll go with you, but it'll be said that the battle was won by a woman. And he goes, okay, I'm okay with that. And so,
Good.
how much security did she put in him that he was able to trust her so that they could come alongside each other together, win the battle, because she had gifts that he didn't have and he had gifts that she didn't have. And so it's really an incredible, if you extrapolate that out, and that's what I do in the book, and talk about how do you lead effectively alongside a man? And what do you need to tuck away and keep in your girlfriend group and not bring to the board table? So I've learned so much from her life, and she's just a constant. When I get to heaven after Jesus, I'm going to meet Deborah.
Me too. I'm going to line up with the sons of Israel and get some wisdom.
Yes.
Absolutely. We're on a live call right now. There's people here right now
Right.
listening in, leaning in. I love this. Hey, if you're in the chat right now, this is what I want you to do. I want you to type in all caps, woman up, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And if you dare, I want you to put no drama mama. Type it in the chat. Come on. Empowering, trustworthy, security. I love what you're sharing, Pastor Lori, because I think so many times, so many people underestimate and undervalue this gifting specifically in women. Now, in your book, you also get personal with some of your own leadership journey and some of the struggles that
Yeah.
you've had along your journey. Maybe can you share a little bit of some of those as everybody's leaning in and typing in the chat right now?
Sure. I think everyone wants a victory, but nobody wants a battle,
Yeah.
you know? And so, but really great leaders, if you talk to any great leaders, they've been through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you can have a capacity stretch. I love Dr. Chan's book on leadership pain.
Mm-hmm.
There is no promise without pain. There is no promised land without giants. And so, in my life, one of my biggest cheerleaders to my destiny was my dad. And he was, from a very early on age, he would tell me and encourage me to be the leader that I was called to be. And so he would help me with campaign. I was always running for student office, growing
Mm.
up. And he sent me to LSU, which is, one of the biggest party schools in America. But he was like, Lori, I can send you there, because he said, I could send you to hell and you're going to lead people to Christ there. He's like, you're just like, no compromise. You're going to stand for the Lord. You're going to lead people. And so I have that leadership voice of encouragement in my ear. And then in 1988, March 27th, 1988, my dad was preaching on a Sunday morning, 45 years old, and I was sitting on the front row with my mom and my two younger brothers, 14 and 12. And he dropped dead of a heart attack right in front of us.
Wow.
And it was a defining moment, because it was the day that I said, okay, if I was ever going to do something for God, it was going to be here.
Mm.
It was going to be helping my dad. and now he's not here, and we have this small church. And um, what's God going to do with me now? I don't have my biggest cheerleader
Mm,
to my leadership gift. And so that was one of the defining moments of my life. But later on that year, it actually took that in my life to make me miss ministry so much and to really open myself up to the call of God in my life. Because I just believe that there's two really defining moments in your walk with the Lord. It's the day you receive Christ as your savior, and then it's the day that you say, "Okay, God, do anything with my life."
mm.
And so it was December 31st, 1988. I was at a college retreat, and I said, "Okay, God, you have it all. I will even marry a pastor if you want me to." And I was
Woo!
sobbing. And it was like I had taken a vow of poverty. It was like I was laying all my gifts at the altar. Like, "Okay, God, I'm never going to be used by you in the gifts that you've given me," because I had never seen that outworked. And with that, God, I mean, if you give God that surrender, it's amazing what he can do with your life. And I can't imagine myself doing anything differently, but it came out of that
Mm,
pain point in my life. And then the second major defining moment in my life is 4 years later. I was 23 years old. Joe and I were youth pastoring in New Orleans, actually at my dad's church, under the new pastor. And one day, we're walking around a craft fair, getting stuff for the nursery. I was so excited, and I reach up and just kind of scratch my neck, and there's a big lump in my neck, and it turned out to be cancer. And so I
mm,
found out I had cancer when I was 7 months pregnant with my first child. And in that moment, I had to realize that God had a future for me. I had
wow.
to reach back to like the prophetic words in my life, to the promises of God in my life. And I had to say, I am going to live to see this, and I'm going to live to see this child raised and hopefully have other children too. But I knew also, and this is what leaders do, leaders have to go through pain publicly.
Mm,
And so that's another capacity grower in your leadership journey, is
wow.
that I didn't have, I couldn't just melt. I couldn't just have this meltdown. I had all these youth in our youth group watching me. And so I kept leading worship as much as I could. And I kept showing up for church, and I kept doing that. And I just believe that a lot of a lot of times we don't realize that our leadership is not in a void. It's not in a vacuum. There are other people watching us at all times. We're
Yeah.
never off, and so that was a great leadership lesson for me. And then over the next few 2 decades, I would learn to find my leadership voice, because I found that I was always trying to promote other people, because um, I didn't really think that some men would receive from me.
Mm,
And I was at the table sometime, and I would have the best ideas maybe, but I didn't share them until after. And so Joe finally was like, and again, just it, sometimes a woman needs a man to help champion them
sure.
into the right seat at the table, and
Yeah.
he was like, "Lori, you have to start speaking up. Lori, God gave you that gift for a reason. Like, you're
Mm,
holding yourself back. Nobody's holding you back but you." And he goes, "You're not the best woman for the job. You're the best leader for the job. And not because you're my wife, like I would hire you to do this." And so that's when I was really encouraged and had to start walking in that confidence, because like I said, I felt like I could lead anywhere else. I led in the marketplace. I led,
mhm.
all through college, or working at the governor's office, or working as a marketing director for a company. Um, but I was shy about leading in church because I just
Wow.
hadn't seen it. And I think that there are so many women out there that think, they're a great leader in the marketplace, but how could I do that for God? And you're doing it for God. Like, God has you in the marketplace because
Yeah.
he needs your voice. And you need to just shift your perspective and make that workplace a sacred place where you're honoring God with your gift. and where people are looking at you as a leader and saying, I want what you have.
Are you following Avail on social media? If you answered no, what are you waiting for? You can enjoy encouraging content, get updates on all our latest resources, and connect with leaders just like you, all from the comfort of your couch. There's no better account to visit in between appointments or over morning coffee. If you haven't found us on Instagram and Facebook yet, look up The Art of Avail and click follow. We can't wait to see you there. That's so good. Come on, everybody in the chat right now, I want you to type, preach it, Pastor Lori, preach it. This is good. Pastor Lori, in a few moments, maybe after this next question, I'm going to let people know how they can get your book today. If they're not a Avail subscriber, for free, and otherwise how they can get it as well, because we have a special offer, and I'm going to tell them all the surprises that are with this offer. But here's what I want to do. I want to piggyback off what you were just saying, kind of on a serious tone and a serious note here, because I know what you're saying. I'm like, amen, amen, amen. I've spoken this into my wife. I've seen it, into my sisters and other women leaders in our church, and that I just see so much God gifting. And so here's my question, or maybe here's what I'd like for you to do. Can you give some encouragement for some women leaders who may feel even discriminated against in ministry and in church, maybe feel inadequate, kind of what you were expressing right now, like not comfortable. And this may have to do with the type of church you're in, you grew up in, mentality you've had, or maybe even the enemy trying to hold you back from your potential, right? But can you speak a little bit to women, and also for all the men that are leaning in right now, to understand how a woman might feel if they don't feel empowered, embraced, and encouraged in this gifting?
Yeah, I've experienced that, in the marketplace and in church. In the marketplace, I was hired as a marketing director for a company, international company. And I walked in and they go, we don't have a desk ready for you, but we're also missing a receptionist. So can you be the receptionist for a little while? And I just thought there was a guy that came on in a lower position at the same time. And like, they didn't put him at the receptionist desk, And so, and I know that still goes on in some places. And also, I went to a conference, a church planting conference years and years ago. And Joe and I were there together. And one of the pastors came over to me and he said, hey, I'm so sorry. I was the only female in the room. I didn't get the memo. But he goes, hey, I'm so sorry my wife isn't here to take you shopping.
Wow.
And I went, I'm not here for shopping. I'm here for strategies. Like, my husband's actually the shopper of the family. So I know that happens. But over the years, I've also seen that there's a saying that says, if people don't let you come sit at their table, then go build your own table. And it sounds really good, but I don't like it, because I believe that if people don't invite you to the table, then outlast them, outwork them, earn it until, when you're able to share something, have something good to share. And then they'll say, gosh, we need her at the table, and we have to not forget that the Bible talks about how promotion doesn't come from the east or from the west. Promotion comes from the Lord. And in those impossible situations, even in the workplace, I ended up having a great office and, ended up like when I left them to go into ministry, they were like, you can come back. We'll pay you anything you want, and so I've been able to, it might take a little bit longer, but earn it. But also, I think that some glass ceilings, sometimes we call it glass ceilings, aren't really glass ceilings. I mean, I think some women, it's a feeling ceiling. It's you've let your emotions get in the way. I think sometimes it's an insecurity ceiling. You can't get over yourself, and you're not cheering other people on. It's all about me. Or it's a courage ceiling. Like, I needed Joe to say, Lori, walk in confidence. God's given you this. And so while I know there are glass ceilings, I think that first we need to look at ourselves and say, is there anything that I'm doing that's holding me back? Like, if I'm at a table, I'm usually around a lot of men. And if I'm at a table with a lot of men, I am not going to have a meltdown every time we're together. I'm not going to be the person that they have to walk on eggshells around. And so let's just make sure that we are stewarding the gift that we have and growing in the gift that we have. And there's some things I can do in a room full of women that I can't do in a room full of men. And it's the same way for men. There's conversations that men can have that you can't have in front of women. So, you do have to understand that God's uniquely gifted us, but we are different. And so embrace that and understand that and try to understand each other so that you can best fit together.
I love that. Here's what I want to do right now, Pastor Lori. I want to go into the offer, and after that, I want you to differentiate a little bit, kind of what you think, kind of the main differences between men and women leaders
Yeah.
might be. But can you hold the book up? I want everybody to see this. Hey, everybody, check the book out.
See it?
Maybe you can say, Pastor Lori, you can say, "Here's the book." So
Here's the book, Woman Up. It is for women discovering their leadership voice and for the men who value them.
I love it. Here's what I want you to do, everybody. You can get this book for free right now. Our Avail team is putting the link in the chat right now as I'm speaking. And here's what it is. If you are not subscribed to Avail right now, you can get Lori's book, Woman Up, for free today, plus 6 months of the Avail Journal. We're going to talk about this a little bit later. Lori's on the cover of this one. 6 months of the Avail Journal for free. All you got to do is cover shipping and handling. The information is on the page. You can click on the link. You're going to see our team putting the link in the chat multiple times here right now, whether you're on this live Zoom, whether you're on the expanded Facebook stream right now, wherever you find yourself, you should see the link right there. Let me tell you about this. Pastor Lori Champion has brought this amazing book, Woman Up. You can get it for free. Click on this link and you get 6 months for free of the Avail Journal. If you say, Pastor Virgil, I'm already subscribed to Avail, well, you can purchase the book by going to theartofleadership.com. We want to make sure that it's available to you. For me, this is the no-brainer. Click on the link right now. If you're there, you're going to see one more option. This is the no-brainer for me. It's called the Masterclass Upgrade option. The Masterclass Upgrade option is actually going to include Pastor Lori's new book, Woman Up. It's an awesome book. The companion study guide that helps you take your journey through the book, where you're able to document and kind of answer questions and journal as you're going. It's also going to include access to the masterclass videos by Pastor Lori that are connected to the teachings of this book. It's going to include the bonus session, which will actually be this Avail live call webinar attached to those masterclass videos. All of that for the upgrade masterclass bundle, which is right there on that link for $49. Normally, that's about $100 at least. If you try to purchase it on the website later, that's what it'll be. So take advantage today, right now, on that link. If you haven't done so, the Avail team is putting it in the chat once again. You can get, if you're not an Avail subscriber, you get Pastor Lori's book for free, plus 6 months of the Avail Journal for free. If you are, you can get the book on theartofleadership.com. Here it is, the no-brainer. Go for the masterclass bundle. Go for the masterclass bundle. You'll have access to these videos. And let me say one more thing. Maybe you're thinking right now of some women in your life, some women leaders who need to be encouraged in their gifting that God has placed in them, whether it's in ministry or in the marketplace. This book is going to speak to them. And if you're a leader, if you're a man and you're a leader and you want to understand this and be men who want to value them and encourage them, come on, lean into this. Grab this book for those people that you know God has put on your heart right now. Hey, Pastor Lori, how was it? What will people experience when they get a chance to click on those masterclass videos? Was it fun making those?
It was so fun making those. Yeah, it's like 5 to 8 minutes long each, and you can do it for yourself, or you can do it, invite a few girlfriends over and have a Bible study around it. It was really good, and I think that people are going to enjoy it and grow from it for sure.
So good. That's so good. All right, everybody. The link is on the chat multiple times right there. If you're enjoying this live call webinar, come on in the chat right now. Put a little fire emoji or a high 10 emoji or a cool shades, happy, I don't know, whatever emoji you want to put it in the chat right now. Pastor Lori, we're kind of coming to the final stretch, but I'd like for you to talk a little bit about kind of the differences between men and women leaders. And then is it always the case? Because, every situation is a little different.
When Joe and I do those, I don't know, marriage studies or surveys, I mean, a lot of times he's more sympathetic than I am or emotional than I am. He cries at commercials. Sometimes we get those confused, but overall, You don't even have to listen to me. You can read any study that says that organizations that have women in their top leadership do better, produce more, are more profitable in every area, because when there's a diversity of male and female and experiences, then you can broaden your reach. Collaboration. Women are so great at collaboration. That's why I think that when Deborah said, "Okay, I'll go with you to battle," and then, I mean, because you love to come alongside. And I think we love that. We love to be includers. We are empathetic. We can feel things that men don't feel. And I think that
Mm,
in a room where you're making decisions, a lot of times, you know, the typical male might make a decision just based on, like, is this good? Is this efficient? Is this effective? And I think a lot of times women are like, there's women that are gonna be in the room. There's a single mom that's gonna be in the room. Like, you feel how that's gonna be received by other people. So you can come up with a better decision, a better product when there's both male and female in the room. I love in Genesis, I mean, God sets it forth in the beginning of the word, in the beginning of time. It says in Genesis 2:18 that the Lord said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." And that's not just in marriage. You know, I and a lot of women bristle at the helper word, but the helper word in Hebrew is the word azer, and it means like a strength, like a military strength. In 16 out of 21 times it's used in the Bible, it's God as helper. It's like the Holy Spirit helper. And so it's really something to be embraced, that we come along and we have another set of eyes. And so we can be so much more productive. It can be exponential benefit when a woman and a man are working together side by side, and God's there. And so, anyways, I think I love that. I love to embrace the womanhood of leadership for us. Now, there's principles in the book that are universal, but there's also some things that are just like, we need to embrace this because God's gifted us like this. Like, we have a heart tuned to these things, and God made us like that. And so I think that's really cool. And women don't need to learn to be leaders like men. They need to embrace that God's made them a woman, and there's beauty in that. And we're multifaceted, but we're not supposed to be complicated. And so I talk about all of that in the book. And yeah, I get to say things that men can't say. Let's just say it like that.
yeah, I love that. Can you hold up the book, please, Pastor?
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Woman Up, everybody. Man, what a great book. Come on. If you're enjoying this live call webinar here on Avail, I want you to type in the chat, "We are better together." I agree with it so much. In fact, I'm going to put some music. I agree with this so much.
Yeah.
We are better together, men and women, leading together, pastoring together, working together. You know, I have found, Pastor Lori, in my leadership, along with my wife, who helps me pastor, we pastor together. She is so good at some areas that I'm so weak at.
Right.
and 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 there's areas that I'm stronger in that
Yeah.
she's not as strong in. And there's something so beautiful about that, you know, even in marriage, I mean, even in family. But I've seen this, and I really have noticed throughout my years as a pastor's kid as well. I've noticed that a lot of pastors and ministries sometimes don't leverage this strength,
Right.
because maybe because of the church style or
Right.
denominational upbringing or personal beliefs. But
Yeah.
what would you say? What would you say to somebody who's maybe thinking, you know, like really like maybe I should consider, you know, empowering women a little bit more with responsibilities, with leadership? What would you say to somebody who's kind of on the fence?
Yeah, I think we complete, we're not to compete. And I think sometimes it's been a competitive thing.
Yeah.
If you can recognize a God gift in that person, like the, God, I mean, it's amazing the amount of women that funded the ministry, that came alongside Jesus, they were the first ones to declare his resurrection. And
Mm,
so, like, even Jesus had men and women traveling
yeah.
together, because he knew he needed more than one perspective. And so, who are we to think that we can only hear from 48% of the population? You know, women have a lot of great insight and intuition and gifts for the body. And I think that if we want a beautiful body, that it can't be one-sided.
I love it. I love it. I'll put my background music real quick. Here's what I want to do, everybody. We're on a live call webinar with Avail. The book of the month is Woman Up. The author of the month is Lori Champion with an amazing book. If you're not an Avail subscriber, you can get this book for free, plus 6 months of the Avail journal for free. But I suggest going one more step and upgrade to the masterclass bundle, which includes the hardcover book. It includes the companion study guide, the masterclass video series, this bonus video, which will be in there eventually as well. Everything that has to do with Woman Up and Pastor Lori Champion. Pastor Lori, here's what I want you to do. I want you to hold up the book and do one little pitch. Tell people why they need this book.
You need this book because I believe that God has a voice and that you have maybe been running from it like I ran from it, and that we can all be better. We all need to continue to grow and say yes to God. And this is just going to challenge you to do that. I need, we all need friends in our lives to just challenge us to go places that we wouldn't go by ourselves. And I'm that friend in your life that is going to push you and you cannot escape it. But I just want these words to speak to you and to challenge you to be everything that God's called you to be. Leave it all out on the field for Jesus.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey, everybody. Our Avail team is putting the link in the chat right now. Thank you, Avail team, for all that you do back behind the scenes, putting that link on the chat. The book is Woman Up, for women discovering their leadership voice and for the men who value them. I am a better man because of my wife's leadership. Our church is a better organization because of women who are leading in areas that they are gifted in by God and called to in ministry. So I love this, Pastor Lord. I love this resource. Make sure right now you click on that link. I suggest don't even think twice. Masterclass bundle it. By the way, you can copy that link and share it with your friends. We allow that here on Avail. Share, get the word out, let more people know about it. I know Pastor Lori wants that. We want that. Pastor Lori, if people want to lean in and kind of connect with you on social media, are you on social media? How can they find you online?
I'm on all social media at Lori M. Champion, and also have a website, lorichampion.com. But on Instagram, Lori M. Champion, that's the best place to find me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now I'm holding here one of the Avail journals. Now, the Avail Journal is a leadership magazine, Christian leadership magazine that comes out quarterly. This one happens to have Pastor Lori on the cover right there.
I recognize her. Yeah.
What would you say? What would you say to listeners and viewers about the Avail Journal?
It is so chock-a-block full of great insight. I'm just honored to be on that magazine. I read it cover to cover. And I'm telling you that y'all could have made like 12 out of that one. So good. Great resource.
Hey, leaders, you want resources in your hands that are going to help you on your journey of leadership to discover the art of leadership. Here's the article with Pastor Lori. Look at that. Look at that for all the viewers. If you're listening, you can't see it, but it's a great, great article by Pastor Lori Champion. Hey, I'm so pumped, Pastor Lori, about your book. I can't wait to get it in my hands, share it with my wife and some women leaders, and also some men that I think are going to be encouraged by it. Once again, everybody, our Avail team is putting the link in the chat right now. Ahora. If you're not an Avail subscriber, you can get this book for free, gratis, en español. If you are an Avail subscriber, you can purchase the book on the website. But the biggest suggestion I give you is click on that link and go for the masterclass bundle upgrade. It includes the hardcover book, awesome, Woman Up, the companion study guide, journal, answer questions, kind of go through the journey with Pastor Lori, and access to the masterclass video series, which is going to be such a beautiful compliment, hearing from the author herself throughout your journey. I think it's going to be an awesome, awesome experience. Pastor Lori, to close off this live call webinar, maybe what is just maybe some final words of encouragement, advice you want to leave in everybody's hearts?
Well, one of the things I want to say is continue to grow yourself. In the Bible, it talks about David and said he was a man with a heart after God, but he was also a man skilled. And so we need to have the heart for God, but we also need to have skills. And so that's why it's so important. And that's why I love Avail so much, is because we are giving skills to add to your heart so that God can grow you into places of influence that you never imagined. And secondly, you need to have friends to your destiny. That's what Deborah was for Barak. She was a friend to his destiny. He could not have gone up. He could have not won without her alongside of him. And so when you were talking about share this with your friends, share it with your friends, and also know that you're the average of the 5 people around you. And so go through this book, go through this series with your friends and challenge each other and hold each other accountable, because nobody is successful without the right people in their lives. And God loves community. He has the Trinity. And so it is really, really important. And so this book, that's one of the themes of it as well. You need to look at who's in your life and get the right people in your life to do what God's called you to do.
Woo, I love it. Drop the mic. Boom, Woman Up. Show us that book one more time, Pastor Lori. Come on.
There it is.
Woman Up. There it is. Hey, everybody, the link is in the chat. Thank you, Avail team, for putting it up once again. The link is in the chat. You need this book for your leadership library. Somebody you know can greatly benefit and be encouraged by this book. The book of the month here at Avail is Woman Up by Pastor Lori Champion. Remember that upgrade bundle? That's the no-brainer. Just go ahead and do it. Click the link, copy it now before the webinar finishes, and make sure you share that with some of your friends who could benefit from this. It's going to be awesome, awesome, awesome. Pastor Lori, on behalf of the Avail team, on behalf of Dr. Sam Chand, Martine Van Tilborg, their families, the Avail family, we want to tell you we're so thankful for your life. We're proud of you, your ministry. We're proud of this book, and we truly honor you for being a part of this journey.
Well, thank you, Pastor Virgil. It has been just an honor to be with you. I love all those people. Those are friends to my destiny for sure. And I love partnering with Avail. Thank you, all of you who tuned in today too. It's been really fun.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Avail Podcast with our guest, Lori Champion. Remember to connect with Lori on social media and also on her website, lorichampion.com. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. Make sure to claim your free annual subscription of the Avail Journal at availjournal.com. And if you'd like to connect to our growing leadership community on Facebook, visit availleadershipconnect.com. As always, I'm your Avail media host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the Avail Podcast.